in Attorney Nepomuceno Malaluan. He is Undersecretary of the DepEd and Chief of Staff of the Secretary. Prior to DepEd, he was Corporate Secretary and Trustee of Action for Economic Reforms. Okay, Yusek Malaluan, good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, Sir Cito.
Okay, Yusek, first of all, could you do us the favor of clarifying? Because people are getting different impressions of that recent announcement of the DepEd. Some think it's an extension of the school year. Some call it the removal of summer vacation. Some call it prolonging the program of distance learning. What officially is the DepEd trying to do, Yusek?
Yes, we provided a, 3-week period, in effect interrupting the commencement of the third quarter uh, classes. But it is not a break. The 2 weeks will be used for teachers' intervention for those that may be left behind. We conducted a survey, and among the challenges that there were many challenges identified by both parents, learners themselves, and teachers. And among the teachers, one of the key challenges was the assessment of the learning progress in the context of distance learning. And so we are giving our teachers an opportunity because it's now midterm. We just finished the first 2 quarters of the year
Mm.
to try to provide remedial interventions for those that have had the students in their class that have had greater difficulty in coping with the learning process, and at the same time for the school itself to uh, have an opportunity to have an assessment on the conduct of the next 2 quarters. So
Mm.
that will eat up into the school calendar, which would mean there will be an extension, as you mentioned, of the end term of the present school year. But it will not. It will be compensated with the next year's school opening. Probably not fully compensating it, but it will not mean there was a personal opinion that was stated by our Undersecretary for Curriculum and Instruction, saying that the in between the school year will just be 2 weeks break, and that was not official policy, and the
Mm.
policy is to compensate it. So that clarifies, I hope, uh, and also allay the uh, immediate negative response na iigsi yung in between breaks, because we understand that this was a challenging and still is continuing to be a challenging school year. Based on our survey as well of the parents, learners, there are really peculiar challenges in this different mode of delivering basic education.
I think our viewers would be interested to find out what that survey showed. Okay, in terms
Mhm.
of challenges, problems, and ideas of the parties concerned. Because I know that many viewers that we have here on Agenda and on Signal TV are parents who are taking care of their kids at home and are also teachers of their kids at home, whether nasa private or public. Ano ang lumabas? What were the results of that survey conducted?
We had 1.8 million respondents to the survey that we conducted, of whom among the respondents, 53% were parents and guardians, 28% were learners, and 18% were teachers and personnel. There is a little representation also from the public schools. And from a learner perspective, overall, both public and private, nearly 80% 76% for the private and 80% for the public, said that they did encounter new challenges in the distance learning modality. And
Mhm.
top of the list still would be the reliability of internet and availability of gadgets. But
The
a
availability of
um,
gadgets, Yusek, does it indicate how many percent of your respondents did not or do not have or cannot afford the gadgets? Kasi I just want to compare that to my personal observation on the field. Ang dami pa rin estudyante nakakausap ko na walang gadgets. Actually,
i- i-
10 out of 10 walang gadgets. So kailangan tulungan nating lahat eh.
Yes, so from the learner perspective, both public and private, 28% of them said that their main problem was the unstable mobile or internet connection, and 27% said that they have no or lacking of available gadgets and equipment.
Mhm.
And then another 19% said that probably this you may have gadget or equipment, but there is a no or insufficient load or data allowance. You might say that, well, we are doing the modular learning, printed modules anyway, but
Mhm.
for communication purposes with teachers, these are still needed. In other words, even without synchronous online, they still need a communication tool to be able to communicate with the teachers
Well,
themselves.
that's very true, Yusek. No, and I'm just adding, giving inputs, not to not to be a teacher to you, kung bakit hindi nagle-lecture, but so that our viewers all become aware, no? Kasi lahat ng sinabi mo, everything you mentioned is very true, very correct, based on facts. I also noticed on the ground because just the other day, may nakita akong dalawang bata, anak ng mga tauhan doon sa kapitbahay. And sabi ko, anong ginagawa nyo dyan? Ba't nakaya upo kayo dyan sa may kalsada at naglalaro kayo ng laptop? Sir, hindi po kami naglalaro. These were 10, 15 years old. Hindi po kami naglalaro. Dito lang po may signal. So sabi ko, may tablet nga, wala namang signal sa bahay, pupunta pa sa, something like half a kilometer away from their home, and doon sila nakakakuha ng signal. So it remains that a very big challenge. 25 to 30% of the challenge is still about connectivity, about available technology, and the affordability.
Yes, and another other challenge, because we also ask, with respect to the learning process, what have they encountered? So the other one is with respect to the general challenges, and the technology is part of it. But with respect to the learning process, one of the top answers is there were too many activities still for
Mm.
the learners. And we did respond to that earlier on with some guideline on greater academic ease for that. So these are things that we are trying to at least provide some adjustments midterm, and that explains the extension for 2 weeks. It's not a break because it will be used for remediation activities for those who have been left behind, and it is also some breather for our field frontliners to regroup at the school level for the third and fourth quarters of the school year. But I see what you are showing. Of course, there are a lot of comments we get, but I think at the household level, the learning process is happening, and we have, to a large extent, recovered as well the participation of parents in the learning process. Of course, it's differential. There are those that are more difficult to really engage fully, but still. just in summary, we believe it was good to have continued with the school year this year.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I mean, it's good in a way because it gives us the experience, shows us all the positive facts, and also the difficult challenges. Kasi maski na ako, nung naglagay ako ng studio na maliit doon sa Lipa, akala mo simple lang na magtayo ka lang ng studio, maglagay ng camera. Eh pagdating pala ng umaga, tumaas yung araw, sapul ka dito. Pagdating naman ng hapon, hindi mo naisip, sapul ka sa kaliwa. So there are adjustments. But
yeah.
going back to the thing of the survey, you mentioned that the respondents said there were too many activities. I get the
Mm-mm.
impression that the people who said this were primarily either the parents who need to balance making a living, running the household, and teaching their children. Do any of the surveys or DepEd studies look into the stress factor that this
Mm-mm.
online learning has created within families, with parents, and even your teachers, the mentors? Kasi may nagsabi sa akin kagabi, actually it was my wife who pointed out, if there are the summer vacation is not really just about the children. The vacation that you call in the Philippines is actually a break for the teachers to recover, many of whom have had a really difficult time in the last year.
Yeah, yes, that is why the policy direction already is to compensate whatever extension we did towards deciding on the next school year. And there are so
Mm.
many other policy issues under deliberation for that. For example, whether we will continue our reduction in the curriculum to the most essential learning competencies and so on. But with respect to the mental health side and the stress
Hmm.
factor, uh, a I think based on the survey, although I am not seeing now uh, with respect to the results of the survey, but the results of the survey did not indicate that as their main need. It's really to address those uh, challenges that they
Hmm.
have identified. But we do understand that, and we have a program for addressing mental health concerns. I'm just not too familiar with the details, Cito,
I
on that.
understand. Yeah.
But we do have our Bureau of Learner Support Services and a school health division
Hmm.
that looks after this side. And in the Senate hearing, also, personally, I mean, it's not my field of that I'm looking at closely in this learning continuity plan, but from a clinical psychologist standpoint, they pointed out this is in the context with the face-to-face. A learning is it's the emotional development side that may be compromised with the absence of face-to-face interaction with friends
Excuse me. Mm.
among the learners. And so again, that's another factor that I believe needs a in-depth study uh, as we draw lessons from this episode in the public and private
Okay.
education system.
You were talking about adjustments of schedules. Do have Has the department determined when the official begin or start of the next school year will be? Because you said there will be a pushback adjustment of a couple of weeks, etc. Meron na ba tayong official date for the
Uh,
new school year?
Not yet. That has not been decided as of this time. As I
Mm.
mentioned, there are so many contingent factors still with respect to whether we will have still pure distance learning or the curriculum. This will still be the product of some of the assessments that will come in. And if we go beyond August 30, for example, it is the recent law of last year provided the president actually the authority to set the school opening if it will be beyond August 30, if I recall correctly,
Mm.
with recommendation. So there will still be a lot of policy deliberation on the school opening in light of discontinuing adjustments that are still ongoing. So it's we have general directions. There are still many policy issues that we need to deliberate on, and as I mentioned, a lot of contingent variables. So, at the proper time, probably sometime in May, we will be able, but towards the end of the third quarter of this school year, insofar as the public school is concerned, then.
Mm.
Then we will make the announcement, and but I presume that we will still give flexibility to the private schools because we allowed private schools to start ahead of the public schools this school year. So some of them are actually already near their fourth quarter as of this time.
Mm.
I think that's an overall direction, but in terms of pinning down a specific date for the school opening, wala pa.
Do you have a list of kumbaga pinaka manipis na teaching or subject load, etc. Kasi when we had Congressman Roman Romulo on the program, he reiterated the need to reduce the teaching load, and apparently your own survey shows that there's just the respondents were saying there's too many activities, and having worked with many people at the DepEd at the level of the schools and principals, they themselves are saying na mabuti nga wala na ngang school activity, physical school activity, pero hindi naman nabawasan yung mga paperwork, yung mga, kumbaga, nadagdagan pa nga eh. Kasi yung school activity, parang nililinis mo lang yung eskwelahan, you're looking after the facilities, but with this online, the demand on our teachers and principals has been doubled, if not tripled, because now it has to be almost house to house.
Yes, that is correct. And plus, one of the challenges I mentioned is they feel that they would still need, or it will be better if even for just a small portion of opportunity for face-to-face interaction with their students, just to be more comfortable or confident about the assessment of the learning progress of the learners. So, but you're correct. The workload is real for them. Plus, the requirement for more real time updates on data, the surveys that we are conducting. We have not stopped our activities with professional development. Uh, s- so all of this constitute quite a bit of adjustment, not just with the front line, but also at the central office level.
Mm.
Right now, one thing that has happened is that from a almost a once in 2 months management committee meeting that involves all our regional directors, central office directors, and executive officers at the central office. Ngayon, we are having weekly meetings, at least half a day of every week. So it's taking a toll all around, including weekdays, because that's the other side of communication accessibility through remote communication through video conferencing,
Mhm.
for example. It allows you to meet a bigger number of people anytime, and it removes the physical barriers that somehow puts a natural break to all of these other activities. So there's a pros and cons, or always a
Okay.
trade off. Yes.
Okay, Yusek, there's a question here. Since you're still deliberating on the policies for next school year, does this mean that face-to-face classes remains a possibility or is still on the table, or are we going to follow the cue of the president who said, until there's a vaccine for kids, no face-to-face?
Well, the in December cabinet meeting, the secretary was able to secure the approval of the president and the cabinet for a pilot face-to-face classes in a study setting. In other words, we will just pick a representative a number, small, very small number, so that we can get a hands-on of the adjustments that have to be made even in the context of COVID-19. So our roadmap to a face-to-face is consists of three phases. The first phase is this pilot study in effect, and then the second phase is a expanded face-to-face, and the third is hopefully at some point there will be a declaration of a new normal. The secretary has been given the authorization by the president based on the sharing of the secretary to continue our preparations for this reintroduction of face to face, so that at any time that the president lifts his suspension of his earlier approval for us to do the face to face, we're ready to go. And we presented the details of that to the Senate committee just this week. And there were certain other suggestions for refinements, and so we take it under advisement.
Okay.
But we're preparing. Anytime that the president leaves, we have schools that are preparing to do a pilot or dry run or test, uh, and with all the stringent readiness checklist, and this will give us lessons to
Yeah.
of how do we blend distance learning and a bit of face to face in the context of a health crisis like COVID.
In the meantime, Undersecretary Malaluan, we still need to address the problem of internet accessibility. Naisip ko lang, no?
Yes.
This is just an idea kasi I'm sure you'll be called to the Senate and to Congress. And we have budget allocations, or at least before COVID-19, there are annual allocations for school buildings, the construction of school buildings, annual school budgets for the maintenance of school buildings, etc., etc. Naisip ko lang, on top of all of those budgets, if you got all of that money, realigned it, and then sat down with Smart, with Globe, and with Dito, for instance, you sat down with the telecoms and say to them, okay, ganito na lang. Bigyan nyo na lang ng free access lahat ng estudyante to our teaching apps and broadcasts. Like much like malls, much like airports, na hotels, that all you need is the password and you can access. And since they will can only access DepEd material, there is no risk na baka pag nagbigay sila ng access mapupunta sa ibang bagay. Kumbaga I am sure that it is in terms of technology and capability, the telcos can do that. Kumbaga bigyan natin ang mga estudyante open access to a Wi-Fi dedicated to DepEd, at hindi na nila kailangan bumili ng load, etc. Or bibigyan nyo na sila ng password. Kasi na ang hirap kahit na wala na nga, yung iba nga nagtsatsaga na lang sa maliliit na cellphone, tapos maghahanap pa ng pera para sa load. Pati yung mga teacher natin, Yusek.
Yeah, yes, there's actually that component in our program, yung aming DepEd Commons, which is an online platform, which is a repository also of some of the lessons. I whitelisted, as we call it, and walang hindi nag-incur ng data charges. So,
But
may
there are.
ganung program.
But only a portion. Kasi ang dami ko
Yes.
nang nakausap na estudyante eh. Nanghihingi nga ng, ng load para maka-attend.
Yes, because that is only for downloadable resources in the DepEd Commons, but it does not cover a learning management platform, for example, where you will still need data. So yes,
So,
that is an
so
area
pwede.
that we are looking at. And one of our schools, actually, it came from a field initiative in Sarangani of uh, putting up a local area network, an offline local area network, and there is uh, a, a gadget that they have that can cover a certain
Yeah.
contiguous area. That's not web based, so there are things that can
Siguro,
be
yeah.
done.
Siguro, Yusek, because we've run out of time, I would just like to encourage you or request you to consider that possibility of realigning budgets and then sitting down with the telcos and just have a dedicated open platform for our students so they don't have to go around the barangay looking for money or selling banana queue just to be able to continue with their education. Thank you, Yusek Malaluan.
Yes, thank you very much, Sir Cito, for this opportunity. We're happy to update you and your viewers on where basic education is going at the present and in the more strategic term.
Okay. Maraming salamat po mga kaibigan. Yan po si Undersecretary Nepomuceno, Malaluan, Department of Education. And tuloy-tuloy po ang classes, tuloy-tuloy ang pag-assess. They're doing their surveys, they're doing their evaluation. And based on our discussion, yun na, lumalabas, no? Lumalabas 25 hanggang 30%, 30% ng mga kabataan ay wala pa ring tablets. Ito pa nga isang problema. Nung may nakiusap sa amin, sandali lang po, sandali lang Gab, tatapusin ko lang yung sinasabi ko, 30%, wala pang wala pang tablets. Eh, ang problema nga nung iba, tablet, hindi alam kung anong tablet. Eh, yung ibang akala yung cellphone, tablet na, etc. And then, walang pambili ng walang pambili ng load, etc. Eh, dami namang budget, di-realign na lang. Wala namang gagawin bagong eskwela. Papagawa ka sa DPWH, pagdating ng bagyo, gibarin naman, eh di gastusin na lang natin pang para makapasok sa internet yung mga bata na libre. Okay, hindi na kailangan magbenta ng kangkong, pechay o banana Q. Okay, we will go for a break and when we return, let's speak with our next guest here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. I'm Cito Beltran. And next up, we have the Undersecretary for the Department of Interior and Local Government. Poging-poging, nabakunahan kahapon. Buta pa siya. Yusek Jonathan Malaya. Good morning to you, Yusek. Are you there? Uy, nawala si Yusek Yusek John Malaya, are you there? Okay, well, in any case, kahapon po, nabakunahan si Yusek and ayun, naputol daw yung linya. Okay, nabakunahan siya and I'm happy for him, but apparently some people had a few things to say about it because even the World Health Organization is concerned. Now, obviously, there is what I would say is a failure in communication. Kasi marami po na naiisip, okay, ano yan, nagkakalamangan, nagkakagulangan, why are some people or high government officials jumping the queue? Actually, it is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. D-I-D-I, okay? Ay, D-I-D-O. Tama ba yan? Damned if you do. Okay, in any case, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Bakit kanyo? May problema dahil yung maraming Pilipino, a number of Filipinos are afraid, worried, hesitant to have vaccination. Ayaw magpabakuna. Ang gagawin naman ng government official, teka, parang yung di ba, pag may fish kill, pag may ASF, pag kung ano-anong pag-aalanganin sa pagkain, di ba budel fight yan? Budel fight. Budel fight. Yung mga government, pinapakita in public, kumakain sila ng tilapia, kumakain sila ng tahong, yung red tide, ganon, o kaya kumakain sila ng baboy o manok nung merong bird flu. Ngayon, what some government officials, and even I would do it, are trying to do is, demonstrating demonstrating to the public that it can be done, it's safe. Pero alam mo, sabi ko nga lagi na lang ako, Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya, ikaw ba talaga yan? Okay. Mukhang kailangan mabakunahan yung connection ni Yusek John. Ayan na ang problema. So in any case, as I was pointing out, you're trying to convince the public it's safe to be vaccinated. And this is no longer about Sinovac, Pfizer, etc. Kasi may lumapit nga sa akin may tumawag sa akin pastor just the other day. Sabi, Cito, itong AstraZeneca, magpapabakuna ka ba? Sabi ko, saan ang pila? Okay, we have Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya. Good morning. Oh, good morning. Nabakunahan na ba yung linya mo, yung internet mo?
Maraming salamat, Cito. I'm having trouble right now, but finally, nakapasok tayo. Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling? First of all, kasi syempre, I know your reasons for getting vaccinated, but I will allow you to, say it yourself and also share with us how does it feel the 24 hours na ba? 48 hours ka na?
Yeah, for more than 48 hours. I was vaccinated last Tuesday, so in general. And first and foremost, Cito, thank you so much for understanding where I am. Kasi I'm in a difficult position because I'm chair of the subtask group on risk communications of the Task Force COVID-19. That's one of the hats I wear dito sa kampanya natin against COVID. And one of my primary responsibilities really is to increase public confidence dito sa ating pagbabakuna. And various surveys have shown na it's fluctuating, Sometimes the hesitancy is at 40%. Doon sa latest Okta research group research, more than 60% yung vaccine hesitancy. So we really have a problem in terms of getting people inoculated. So when I went to Pasay Gen and when I was asked if I wanted to be vaccinated, I did not hesitate. Sabi ko, tinanggap ko na. Sabi ko, sige, nagpapabakuna ako because there were few takers. There were less than 100 na nagpalista.
Okay. May kabag sila.
Yeah, oo. There were less than 100 and it would not look good to the public kung ang mismong chair ng subtask group on risk communications who is trying to convince people, I just came from Albay, I've been talking about this, I hold webinars every other day on vaccination together with the DOH. the media was also looking. And baka sabihin ng media, kilala natin ng mga media practitioners, sabihin mismong yung chair ng RISCOMS ayaw magpabakuna. So I took the plunge and had myself vaccinated. And thank you for asking. Parang flu shot lang siya. Sinovac is like a flu shot. Wala namang I wouldn't consider it an adverse effect, no? Pero for a time akala ko lalagnatin ako, pero wala naman. I continued on with my work the entire day and even attended the vaccine cluster meeting later in the day.
Ay, kasi mga kaibigan, yung sinasabi po ni Undersecretary Malaya na para lang flu shot, kasi may bakuna na rin para sa trangkaso. Nauna yung trangkaso na yan, yung bakuna sa trangkaso. And I've had that. I've had flu shots, I've had pneumonia vaccine, and totoo yun. Yung sinasabing reaction, syempre may bagong pumasok sa katawan mo, parang akala mo sisipunin ka, yung iba parang nasuntok sila sa braso, pero yun lang, no? So other than that, wala ka naman nararamdaman.
Wala naman, na-surprise lang ako nung reaction ng iba na sabi nila na I was jumping the gun daw or there's nothing to jump because there was no massive, there was no outpouring of I want a vaccine. People were looking to leaders. And Cito, I myself have been advocating to let the mayors take the lead. I've quoted so many times about that. I say this with full respect to NITAG. Okay? They are helping us. They are the experts here. Pero tayo kasi we are the communication professionals, di ba? People will not believe until they see their leaders get inoculated. That is the reality of public communications. And para sa akin, pag dumating ang bakuna sa isang lugar and then nauna si mayor, that will end the game. Tapos na ang ating public information campaign. The mayor putting himself there, showing to the public na kailangan magpabakuna is, I think, the most important step that we can take. However, I say this with all due respect to NITAG. If that is the position of NITAG, I would respect that, and I wouldn't want to create some controversy over this.
Ang problema kasi natin dito, Yusek John, I think is, NITAG, may trabaho sila, gagawin nila yung trabaho nila. Yung World Health Organization, meron silang responsibilidad, paninindigan nila yung responsibilidad nila. Pero meron ding tinatawag na realidad at katotohanan. Ang realidad sa Pilipinas ay maraming takot, hilo, hindi naintindihan at ignorante o tanga tungkol dito sa pagka-proseso ng bakuna. At yung sinabi kong tanga, no, hindi po mura yun. Yung tanga is wala kang alam. Kanya nga, tanga-tanga, di ba? So kung ayaw mong mabansagan kang tanga, alamin kung ano yung mangyayari pag nabakunahan. I guess that's our problem right now. We have this problem of getting the vaccines, and we also have this problem of having people ready to be vaccinated. As you correctly pointed out, hindi ka naman sumingit sa pila kasi walang pila. Kumbaga, ako, pakiramdam ko, para kang na-set up eh. Para kang ginawang guinea pig. Di lumabas ang katotohanan.
I wouldn't want to call it that way, no. But I just wanted to take the lead, to show to the public that it's safe and efficient. Kasi ang dami nga talagang nagkalat dyan na mga misinformation and fake news na, if this was like a Western vaccine, I think ibang usapan to. But we're talking about Sinovac. No, we're talking about Sinovac that has been battered, tremendously by quarters in our country. So I felt it was my moral obligation and my moral obligation as a government official and as chairman of the subtask group on risk communications to walk the talk. Kasi what we do, we have webinars, we have the medical experts explain, and tumataas naman yung pagbabakuna. Na tumataas yung acceptance, no, from 40%, 50%. nagiging 85, nagiging 90. But the eating is the proof of the pudding is still in the eating. And I was just so happy to find out na immediately after natapos kami na magpabakuna, sunod-sunod na yung ating mga medical workers, sunod-sunod na yung mga health professionals. And then, yesterday, nagkaubusan na ng bakuna sa
Bakuna.
sanla. Nagkakaubusan na, di ba? So it's really about responsible government officials taking the lead over something, kasi parang it's something new. There's a lot of information. Sa loob-loob ko, actually, kasi to be honest, and my wife and my family knows this, takot talaga ako sa karayom.
Wala akong sinasabi, ha? Hindi ako
I've always resisted going to the hospital, yung kahit yung magpakuha ng dugo. Takot talaga ako. But honestly, I was more afraid of the karayom, of the needle, than the vaccine itself. Kasi pinag-aralan ko din Sinovac is inactivated. Okay, it's the traditional way of making vaccines. Therefore, it is much safer, in my opinion, compared to the new technologies of Pfizer and AstraZeneca. But kanya-kanya yan. Para sa akin, whatever is there. Okay?
Alam mo, Yusek John, sa totoo lang, dahil alam mo naman ako, nag-aalaga ako ng mga pansabong, bagamat hindi ako nagsusugal, I don't gamble, I just breed it. It's ironic that a chick up to 3 months or 6 months old, sisiw na pansabong, nakaka-8 iba-ibang klaseng bakuna. Yung mga baby nating mga tao, bago matutong maglakad dyan, nakaka-8 iba-ibang klaseng bakuna na rin yan. Tapos tayo din isang turok lang ng Sinovac, praning na tayong lahat. And then, pag may nauna, galit na galit. Ako, I've been crafting communication sa messages like TLC, turok laban COVID, 'di ba? Pagkatapos meron ngayon nung nagsasalita ka, na-realize ko, bago ka pumutak, magpabakuna ka muna, 'di ba?
Before the vaccination, before Sinovac came in, people were saying, or at least some sectors were saying, the government officials should be the first. Let's give the best.
Correct.
Let's give the best to our health workers. So, yung Sinovac na yan, mauna dyan yung mga government officials, no? So, I myself took it upon myself to, face this challenge. I met the challenge, nagpabakuna ako. Ngayon, nagpabakuna naman ako, may kritisismo na naman, bakit daw ako nauna? So, sabi ko nga sa mga staff ko, Cito, I have not taken a leave since the pandemic began. It's been a year of enforcing quarantine protocols, giving interviews to the media, or doing everything. Parang after this, kasi I had to explain myself to spokesman Harry Roque, I had to explain myself to the Department of Health, I have to explain myself to our OIC, Yusek Florese, who, thank you, sir, I'd like to thank you to Yusek Florese, because I asked permission from him before I was vaccinated. So thank you, sir, for giving me that. And to spokesman Harry Roque, last night in his briefing yesterday, he defended my decision. He understood, So, pero dumaan lang ako sa medyong napagod na rin ako. Sabi ko, magpapahinga muna ako ng isang linggo.
Wow. Ikaw masyado mo pinapansin yan. Galing ka sa media, wala yan. Bahala kayo sa buhay nyo. In any case, Yusek John, moving forward, quick questions na lang at last 2 minutes na. Matanong ko lang, kasi may concern yung League of Provinces of the Philippines tungkol doon sa tinatawag niyong IATF Resolution 101, yung lifting of travel documents, restrictions, etc. Parang gusto nilang palabasin, kung pwede, ma-delay raw ng ilang linggo o isang buwan para makaset up lang sila, because hindi yata klaro na yung IATF Resolution 101 is for tourism purposes only, or yata Mukhang nagkaroon na ng confusion because sa kanila, ang interpretation nila is this is strictly for tourists. Baka raw dagsain naman sila ng lahat ng klaseng biyahero, mamroblema sila.
Well, to, to clarify, Casito, it is not strictly for tourists, no? And we're surprised that that is the sentiment that was expressed to you. We have Undersecretary Epimaco Densing who has been negotiating with them for the past 3 weeks. 3 linggo na po ito nag-uusap. So, kasi it would be virtually impossible to determine who is a tourist and not. Kasi 'di ba, pag umuwi ka sa probinsya, pumunta ka doon, and you say na uuwi ka sa mga kamag-anak mo, you are visiting relatives and being a tourist as well. Kasi mamaya yan, pupunta ka na sa mga tourist spots. So, there's a difficulty in placing a dichotomy between a person who is a returning resident and a tourist.
Okay.
Both are actually tourists, no? Nagpapahinga, traveling for leisure. Ang classification natin is you are an essential worker or an APOR and others or
Okay.
persons
So
under-
hindi strictly for tourists yun. And 3 linggo na sila nag-uusap, so there is no point in delaying any further.
That's correct.
Okay.
Meron lang kasi itong mga issues kasi na pinaplansya pa. There are some LGUs that are requesting for some additional, like let me mention, for example, Ilocos Norte. They are requesting that they be allowed to use antigen tests instead of RT-PCR and only require RT-PCR after a positive antigen test. May mga ganun silang ipinapakiusap na mga requisitos, and they are requesting for a DILG memorandum circular to serve as the IRR or the implementing rules and regulations of IATF resolution number 101. Okay?
Yun, okay.
Pumayag naman kami doon. So, USEC Densing promised that over the weekend, that memorandum circular will be issued to all mayors, governors, and local government officials, even barangay officials. And para maliwanag sa lahat na number 1, no requirement for travel pass, no requirement for medical certificate, local medical certificate, clinical assessment at the port of entry, okay, or terminal. And then finally is quarantine is no longer required except if there is clinical assessment and there are symptoms at the port of entry. So, for example, Batanes is insisting to quarantine everyone going to the province of Batanes. And that would be a violation of the IATF resolution. So, our advice to the Batanes is please amend your executive order or amend your ordinance if that's possible, because you will be in violation of IATF resolution, and the Department of Interior and Local Government will have no recourse but to file a show cause order against you. Maliwanag po yan sa bayanihan law that all local policies must conform to national regulations.
Okay, thank you very much, Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya. And malaya ka nang makakapamasyal dahil nabakunahan ka na. Sana ako malapit na. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat din po. Pabuhay po kayo.
Okay, that's Undersecretary Jonathan Malaya. And now, let's go to one of our favorite regulars on agenda. We have with us the Governor of Bohol Province, Art Yap. Gob, good morning.
Bossito, good morning. And to all of our
Wag mo
viewers.
ako tatawagin bossito, please. Hinihika
Please,
ako.
obvious kung sino ang kuya.
Okay.
obvious.
Anyway, update naman kasi noon sabi mo sa akin, October makakapasyal na ako sa Bohol. Inabot na tayo ng Marso. Sana malapit na. Malapit na ba, Gob?
No, and last October we did open it. Since after the FETEX ng September, binuksan na po natin. We just required for a test, no, an RT-PCR test. But syempre, at that point in time, ni-recognize rin natin yung authority ng mga LGU to put in their quarantine rules. So what happened was when we allowed them under the local government code, we allowed them to do their own quarantine rules and their acceptance procedures. naging magulo dito sa Bohol. So what we did was we harmonized everything right now. So like what you were discussing right now, yung IATF Resolution 101, harmonized na lahat ng acceptance procedures ng Bohol doon. But even before that, even before harmonizing everything with IATF Resolution 101, we already opened up our tourism in the sense that kung darating ka sa Bohol, basta may RT-PCR test ka, may days of validity ka dito. So kung may RT-PCR test ka, may 5-day validity ka dito. And if you wanted to extend your 5 days, that is the only time we would ask you to take a second test. But if not, PCR test ka, pasok ka sa Bohol, for 5 days, you stay within your bubble. May travel bubble ka pa nun. Pero ngayon, as we harmonize all the rules with IATF Resolution 101, basta may RT-PCR ka, pumasok ka ng Bohol, coordinated ka with the LGU, okay ka lang, you can come in, but we still advise you to watch out for at least for 5 days. But hindi pareho dati, Cito, no? Because before, pag uwi mo dito, kung returning resident ka, ika-quarantine ka. Doon yung naging problema. Kasi may nagpapa-quarantine ng 12 days, merong 14 days, merong 10 days, merong 5 days. Ang gulo-gulo. So, pag may nagtatanong, hindi rin kami makasagot. So, kinausap ko yung mga mayors, sabi ko sa kanila, mag-harmonize na lang tayo, i-minimize natin. So, we had marathon sessions with DOH, with their infectious disease experts, and then the local medical frontliners. Hinarap namin for a marathon 1-week session, 3 meetings yun. So, napag-usapan nila doon.
So now you are aligned with the IATF Resolution 101. So RT-PCR, arrive in Bohol, watch yourself, take care of yourself, coordinate with the local government, have a pre-booking or a reservation. Will mobility be restricted? I remember you said at one point na meron kang tawag mo agenda, travel agenda. Hanggang ngayon ganun pa rin ba?
Wala na po. Wala na. Now when you come in, you are allowed to go around the province. Again, we advise you to also stay isolated because sa data namin ngayon, Cito, mas marami yung mga local transmission cases dito. So if you're arriving tourist rin, you want to keep yourself to certain key areas only. You wouldn't want to be mixing with the locals as well because, syempre, if you look at the data right now, 74 active cases kami sa Bohol. 50% of that, 60% of that are local transmission cases. So mga 40% yung mga returning residents, ROFs, mga APOR. So yun ang data. So makikita natin. That's why yun din yung ini-explain ko sa mga tao dito. Sabi ko we are very critical of the returning residents, no? Yung mga LSIs natin. When they are not really the problem. Sabi ko, ang problema tayo. We have to maintain the
Are you in control of the local transmission? Is the situation under control? Mukhang relax ka naman. Wala akong nadidinig. So, obviously, it's just typical of many LGUs yung mga cases dyan.
Okay naman po because on March 16, we will enter 1 year of being under COVID because nagpa-lockdown kami. We were the first province who ordered a lockdown in March 16 last year. And naka 1 year na kami. And ang total infected cases sa Bohol in one entire year is 1,100 cases in an island province of 1.5 million people. So, na-manage naman namin. Ang recoveries namin is more than 90%. Ang namatay, unfortunately, 22. But 22 deaths, no? Na in an island province of 1.5 million, I think na-manage naman natin. We're very, very sad about that, no?
Okay.
But these are people with comorbidities as well.
Yeah. So last question, Gob, because I'm overtime actually, overtime na. Tourist, pumapasok na ba? Do you have any numbers of tourists coming in?
Umaakyat but very soft. Before COVID, Cito, we were ang in and out dito sa Bohol 30,000 no every day. Nag-register kami from December to January 31 ang only 1,200. So when you say nagpipick up na, parang malayo pa rin yun talaga. So to the
Okay.
30,000 every day. But we can detect na marami nang tumatawag eh. Marami
Okay.
nang tumatawag. So that means na I think we're gaining traction.
Okay, well, we wish you all the best, Governor. And when things happen, please let us know para
Yes, sir.
ma-schedule namin kayo agad. And we wish the people of Bohol and the province of Bohol 1,000, 10,000, 30,000 more tourists coming to your shores in the very near future. God bless all of you, Governor.
Buhay ka, Cito. Salamat.
Okay, that's Governor Artyap of the province of Bohol, and I'm Cito Beltran thanking you for joining us all this week. And next week, magkita naman po tayo doon sa Batangas. Sa Batangas tayo maghuntahan at magumpukan. Thank you for joining us, and that's Agenda for Today.